Hello, this is TurboDog702 for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Any Percent tutorial. In this section, I will be discussing one of the methods to skip death at the beginning of the Alucard portion of the run. I will be demonstrating the Neutron bomb version of this skip, which requires you to get 41 hearts before the completion of before entering the Dracula cutscene during the prologue with Richter Belmont. If you need any more reference to that, you can check my other videos, as they are part of this tutorial playlist, and you should be able to find them fairly easy. But for now, I'm going to go inside of it. Basic concepts for the death skip are covered inside of another video, also inside of the tutorial, so keep an eye out for that if you just want a basic idea of how it works out. But for now, let's go into the Neutron bomb version of this skip. Okay, so here we are in the chamber before death. I figure that I would go over a couple of things that will be able to help you. I mentioned in a previous video under mechanics about pause buffering, but I guess I could show a real quick demonstration of that, just so that you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about pause buffering. Rather, map buffering, I guess I should say. Basically, when you press the map button, you can actually press the menu button and get rid of the map. And so basically, by pressing the menu and then the map button in rapid succession, you can almost move the character frame by frame. While that isn't as important for this trick, it's something to notice, because something else that you can do is if you leave the map screen with a button depressed, say backdash, the minute that I let go of the map button, I will execute a backdash. So right now I'm actually holding onto the backdash button. And when my map goes down, I will backdash immediately while holding it. This plays a fairly big part into the next part of it. So the first thing that you want to do is, after you jump over the big warg here, which I've explained in an earlier video, you basically want to bait him once to come towards you here. Then you're going to backdash, break this section, walk forward, and this is where you're going to kind of set up the initial skip. Okay, after the warg attacks you once, baiting you this way, he's fine to be casted on pretty much whenever. Okay, at this point, we're basically going to press left and press map fairly quickly. Okay. Once we do this, this is going to be our cue to check for certain visual cues that will allow us to see if we have the right animation frame, if our pixels are correct to be able to do the trick. Let's say that our pixels are correct right now. Basically what we would do out of this is we would have the neutron bomb equipped before this, and we'd essentially buffer the neutron bomb out of a pause. So I guess I'll show you that. So we lure the warg, we come over here, we break this, we walk into the corner, we equipped our neutron bomb. Okay. After we do that, we move left and press map, find the animation frame that's good. If you don't get it, you can always do like I'm doing right now and just stop, set back up, and try again. Once we find the right animation frame, we're going to hold left and neutron bomb button and then unpause. That'll do that. Now, there's no warg here to kill, but if there was a warg to kill, once I got to this point, the warg would die and I'd level up. Once I see that I'm leveling up, I would hold backdash, which would buffer a backdash, and I'd backdash out of it. After that, I'm going to run against this wall and then run into the next chamber. So I'm going to show it real quick once, just so that you get an idea. We bait the warg once, going to this side, break this, equipped our neutron bomb, find the appropriate frame, hold neutron bomb and left, let go of map, like press select again, while holding those buttons. As we level up, we hold backdash to backdash out of it. We run against the stairs to align our subpixels and run through. Okay. Now here's the tricky part. Everyone always wants to know what's the frames that I'm supposed to be looking for when you do that pause, the map buffering. Well, that's where it gets tricky, unfortunately. This is going to be a fairly detailed part of the video, but I figure it's important to realize some things that you can look for, but also to realize that you're probably not going to get this trick 100% no matter what. But I'll try to have you understand how it works. One of the big things that I've noticed is that you can increase your chances of success greatly by actually running through this door and not backdashing through it. I have actually skipped death backdashing. Some people say you can't. I'm pretty sure that I have before, but it's way more consistent to just run through this door. Now you can like backdash up to it, but then you have to run through it. Okay. To really quick recap on the basic concepts, we're basically using that neutron bomb and the run to break through the screen scrolling barrier, and then during the level up, we move a short distance to go through that barrier and we backdash out of it. But anyway, I've delayed for far too long. Let's get on to the frames, shall we? So, if you have an eagle eye for these things, these are your frames that you're able to death skip on. You'll notice that I'm capturing my cursor, and I'm doing this for a particular reason. There are other frames besides these that actually work. Now let's talk about some cues that you can look at that will help you to identify what you're looking for. Now, hopefully you can make this out just fine with my recording equipment, but I've basically tried to capture these things. It helps a lot if you are on classic capture or with no graphic smoothing in order to see these pixels, because I like to look at pixels to execute this trick. Now, what do we have in common with these? A lot of people will point at like the after images of Alucard, but as I'll show you later, that's not necessarily the best indicator. But all of these frames I have gotten to work. Okay. So what are we looking for? Well, one of the best keys that I've found is this type of stance. Not this exact stance necessarily, but pretty close to it. You notice that Alucard kind of has a straight leg. One of his legs is slightly forward, but the other one's kind of straight down against him. He's clearly looking in one direction. His cape kind of hangs straight down on this side. Pay no attention to the red and black, because essentially Alucard's color or cloak will continue to change colors even when you're map buffering, and that's where I captured these images. So what do I look for? Because anybody can look at these and be like, oh, his cloak's straight. That's not really that good. And it takes too long to be able to notice it, in my opinion. What I look at personally is I look at this stuff. Right. Oh, man. Map capture, please. Well, I guess I can show you this real quick also. You'll notice that if I put the map on, that his cloak continues to pulse. So I guess that's kind of a good thing to show. Alright, come on, death skip. You'll have to forgive me, I was having problems capturing my cursor before as well. Okay, so here we go. I can't look at his cape, for me personally. I can't look at his face, because that just doesn't tell me anything. Neither do the shadows. What I look at personally is I look at these pixels right here. Basically, Alucard has these gray soles, these gray pixels that make up the soles of his boots, and then I look at this crack right here, which is the break between the tiled portion of the floor and kind of the rough-hewn rock. In that area, there's a crack right here that's a darker color, and then a very lighter colored brick next to it. These are the pixels that I'm looking for in reference to the ground, and these are the pixels that I'm looking for on Alucard. And what I'm looking for, and what you see is kind of consistent in these images, is two things. The pixels are between this, where the last gray pixel on his boot lines up with that shaded block to the right of the crack, or that his boot is slightly past it, as in this one, where it's the second gray pixel and it lines up with the actual crack itself. Now, while I found these to be pretty consistent, I can tend to get it about 70% of the time, maybe 80% of the time for the death skip. these aren't necessarily the only indicators that you can have, and you might need to think of new ones. The important thing is to kind of play with it, see what works for you. This works great for me. It's worked great for about half a dozen other people that I've taught this skip, but certain people have had a lot of issues with this particular thing. Now, why have they had issues with it? Well, let me try and tell you, or let me try and show you, rather. These are a collection of failures for the death skip. Now, some of these are really easy to tell. Like this one, if you use my method, you can clearly see, oh, well, his gray on his boot is not lined up with the shaded part on this particular pixel. And hey, it's not even close to the actual crack itself, so this thing's obviously off, right? Okay. This one's obviously off too, right? Because it's not there. It has a different after image. Like, it's not the same after image at all. But this is clearly wrong too. Well, what about this one? This one, the gray pixel is actually on top of the shaded one, so this should work. But guess what? This one is also a failure. This is what I'm trying to get across. Sometimes it's just going to fail. It could be that you didn't align your subpixels. Maybe you dashed into the screen transition. Maybe there's some sort of subpixel luck. I can't comment on that. But you need to realize that sometimes it's not going to work. Don't get frustrated with it. Just keep trying at it, and eventually you'll get it very consistently. Trust me. Something else to note that's kind of interesting about these is you notice on this one, he actually has some of the gray pixels of his hair inside the after image. I thought that was kind of interesting when I was looking at these frames side by side. So that's pretty easy, right? You know, these are your failures, the others are your successes. Well, I'm going to do a little experiment with you as well. And you'll forgive me if I'm kind of long-winded with this, but I want to drive this point home somewhat. This is a little test for you. This is a comparison of some fairly easy components here. I've marked down which one is a success, this one. Okay, and that's pretty easy to see. Well, this one, you know, he's got his boot on there, right? So that should actually work, but it doesn't. This one, okay, well that's off. You can clearly see that the pixel is off here, so he shouldn't be able to get through. That is a failure. Same one with this one. But this one looks like it should work. So why does this one not work and this one works? Well, that's pretty easy to see that, as I mentioned before, this one seems like it's a little bit better lined up on the pixels. This one should work, but this one is pretty definitely going to work. Easy enough, right? Well, now I'm going to show you something that still blows my mind. This is the hard comparison, and this one isn't labeled which one is a success or not. Alright, this is the hard one. Now, if you can tell me the difference, especially in split-second decisions like the ones you want to do to optimize your death skip, if you can tell me the difference between these two, you're a better man than I am. His boot is clearly lined up with this pixel. It's clearly lined up on this one. There's no indication of gray hairs on the models. They seem to be the exact same shade of blue or fairly close to it. There's slight variations just because I'm not that great at using photo editors or creating images, but you get the point. Like, all the indicators are there that this is the same exact animation, same frame, same pixel lineup. What about this one? Well, this one, it has the same animation, but we can tell a very slight difference, which is, again, that boot positioning. This one's a little bit to the right of the crack, while as this one is actually right on the shaded crack. But the same thing applies, like the after image is the exact same, the same animation, it's just that slight change of a pixel. This one looks almost identical though. Okay, so just, I guess what I'm trying to get at, keep it in mind, this stuff is not easy to tell. Find indicators that work for you. The boots work great for me, they may not for you. Give them a try, try out other things, whatever you need to do to make the skip work. Basic concept's the same though with all of them. Alright, so we're going to go over this one more time as a summary. I'm also going to be doing summary videos at the end to be able to just very quickly show off what you need to be able to do. So we're going to get here. We're going to press left and then press map. Okay, we're going to try to line up our pixels so that we get the correct one that we want. That looks good to me here. We would have our neutron bomb equipped. We would hold the neutron bomb button. We'd hold left, and then we'd get rid of map. Once we leveled up, we would hold backdash to backdash out of it, then run against this, jump up, and run through to death. So let's get it all together. So he comes towards us. We equip the neutron bomb. We back up, we get our frame. That looks pretty good to me. I hold left, hold neutron bomb. As I break the barrier, I level up, which enacts the RSL glitch. I hold backdash out of it, run up against the stairs, and run through. And that time I missed it. That tutorial luck. Yeah. So, same thing. Jeez, so bad. And again, as I mentioned, sometimes it's going to look like you have it, and you just don't. You gotta accept it. See, like all of these are on that same pixel, but it's just I'm catching the wrong place. See, that looks kind of off. That looks really off. See, and this is really what it comes down to, is being able to look at this stuff at a glance and be able to get it quick. And being able to get through. Once you get through, make sure to re-equip your Alucard sword at some point before you continue on with the rest of the run, but that's the basic principle for the neutron bomb skip. Hopefully that helped out. I'm going to do a summary video right after this that kind of shows off what you're looking for in rather quick order, make it a little less long-winded. But for now, this is TurboDog702 for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Any% tutorial.